Now, normally on my channel, we're working on making carbon fiber parts for motorcycles, restoring them, painting them, modifying them. It's a motorcycle channel, but today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to show how I have in the past done it, and I think it's going to work well today. I fixed lawn furniture, and if you've ever priced out lawn furniture, you know it can be pretty pricey. So I want to show how to restore the parts that were blown away in the storm we had go through here a few days ago. The chair, if I had to buy 8 chairs or any of the parts that were destroyed, it would be a lot of money. And by doing a repair, I think we'll have it just as good as new in a couple of hours. So that's what this video is going to be about. There's going to be no motorcycle rides, no painting. We're going to fix this lawn chair with some carbon fiber, and I'm going to show how I've done it in the past, and it probably will work just as well today. So first, some truth in advertising. I have made many model airplane and motorcycle parts from carbon fiber, raw carbon fiber, so I have that material in-house. But all the material I'm going to show is available on either Amazon or eBay, and relatively inexpensive. And some of the parts that I've made have to be cosmetically perfect. Some have to be structural. This one that we're making has to be strong. It doesn't have to be real pretty, but it has to be strong. So here's our dilemma. This is a very clean break, and it's a clean break here, which is probably how most of these parts break. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people would just go buy another chair. I enjoy trying to fix things that I can restore and fix and repair, and as a side benefit, maybe even save some money. But here's the dilemma. The first dilemma we have is I want to tack glue this in place with 5-minute epoxy so it'll stay in position while I'm doing the work. Now, to do that, I'm going to have to babysit it. I'm going to have to set this up in such a way that I can hold this in position until it'll stay there by itself, which usually is 5 to 10 minutes. So I can just go get a cup of coffee, and I know that this job is going to take at least 5 minutes. Now, just because I have an engineering degree in aviation related things, this I know if I were to just take this, which I'm sure a lot of people that don't understand engineering well, and just glue that on there, even if I do it with JB Weld or some real high strength epoxy, that's going to break. It's not going to be a real efficient way of doing it, and somebody could get hurt. So that's the reason I'm making this video, is to show how I've done this in the past, and it has worked well. Step 1, the material we're going to use is material I have in-house from when I had my business making model airplane exhaust systems. This is a material, it's like a Chinese necklace. It's a sock. So you can cut off a piece, and it's really not critical. This is not a critical thing to do right now. We need a piece. We need to thread, and I got to see if this will fit. If it doesn't fit, see how this expands as necessary? I've got to get this piece in here before I use any epoxy. Okay, so what I'll do is once this is joined, and if I were not to put this reinforcement on, this will crack. So what I'm going to do is put another piece on top of this and another piece on top of this so that I have plenty of carbon fiber up around the joint. And that'll make it a lot more efficient of a joint. It's like a splint on a leg. Once I get this joined, this will already be on there. In fact, I'll put an extra piece on there just to make this as strong as physically possible. I'd like to have this as strong as possible. Now, if you didn't have this material, you can buy a yard of carbon fiber off the internet, 4-ounce, 6-ounce carbon, and all you need is to do this is some epoxy. In the case you could use all 5-minute epoxy, but we have a resin, and we're going to have this, and when this is done, this should be stronger than the actual part. So to attach that piece, we're going to use Brodac Quick Cure 5-minute. This is a modeling product you can get from Brodac.com. Actually, you can use this to do the whole job, but in my case, I have other resin to use for the carbon fiber, but you could use this. Now, just for basic understanding of how epoxy works, the warmer it is in your shop, if you have a 90-degree shop out in the sun, this epoxy is going to cure in 3 minutes. In my cellar, it'll probably take about 10, because it's usually about 60 degrees in my shop. But keep in mind, all epoxy, virtually all epoxy, and almost all paint, I shouldn't say all, almost all, is the warmer it is, the quicker it'll dry, the cooler it is, it'll take longer. In our case, we're just going to have to babysit this, so it's not a big deal. And we have a relatively good fit. Now, if you were if this were more of a structural part than what it is, I'd be thinking maybe I got to reinforce it somehow with bolts and screws and different things. But I think this is going to be fine. And I have done this before, by the way, and it has worked fine. So I'm going to show this in real time. Well, in real time, I'm not going to sit here for 5 minutes. You think you're bored. Anyway, I want to get some on here. It's a good idea to butter. I call this buttering. Butter both sides. And then you're going to have to resign yourself to the fact you're going to hold this in place, or if you could tape it, I guess you could tape it in place too. Now this isn't really going to be where the strength of the joint comes from. And by the way, I did not have to grind off the finish or make it rough. This is a casting. The finish is plenty rough for what we're doing. But I do want to make sure I get an accurate, this doesn't glue crooked like that. So I'm going to try to be patient here, get that right where, and you can actually feel this when it starts to kick off, but it's for sure at least a minimum of 5 minutes. So just going to hold this in place. I call this babysitting. Now once the part is sticky enough that it'll stay in place more or less, well, we can get some heat on it. That'll help. It takes about 5 minutes for that to get strong enough to hold the part in place. And the heat will help. Just put this in fast forward just to speed up the process here. Now once that can stand on its own, what I'm going to do is embed 2 pieces of, this is music wire, but if you didn't have any music wire, 1/8 inch, you could use an old drill that's dull and just bury this in 5-minute epoxy, and that'll stiffen it up enough that when we're putting on our final carbon fiber sleeve, we'll have a good solid joint. That joint has to be solid once we start to stretch the carbon fiber over it. Now of course the idea is to bury this in epoxy, and of course this will also require a little babysitting too, and I may have to put a piece of carbon fiber thread around it. I don't know, we'll find out. We want to just bury this in epoxy. This will make the joint a whole lot stronger. It gives it a nice tooth also, and by having this in 2 separate dimensions, the more we can spread the load out, the better. Now not only is this furniture, it's expensive, but this has sentimental value because this is something we've had for a really long time, and it's part of the thing we enjoyed when we originally did our first garden. Now once this epoxy dries up and we have it all nice and solid, we'll put those carbon fiber sleeves on top with some West Systems resin. And I think this is going to be just as good as you could ever expect. And you know another thing, I hate the price out stuff that I bought 20 years ago, and I think, well, that was X amount of money, and then I go to the store or Amazon or something, and I think, whoa, you know, I get sticker shock. I said, that's not what it was when I bought it. I guess that happens to us all. Anyway, I'm just going to babysit this, and we'll let the camera, just shut the camera off for now. Once this hardens up, we'll put a little heat on it, and we will be good to go. Now my original plan was I was going to do the rest of this job with West Systems resin, which I have plenty of, but I thought in the interest of making this a really home repair, the 5-minute would be just as good, of course. It's just that the West Systems resin, usually you would have to mix up several ounces of it, and you really don't need that much to do this job. This is going to work out fine. I'm just going to use 5-minute for the whole job, and we'll see how that works out. If it's not that strong, well, I guess we're going to find out. So I have an ordinary flux brush. Mix it up real good, paint it on the part, and we'll put that sleeve on, and we'll see how that plays out. A little bit of heat, and we'll let this dry 24 hours before we even before I sit on it. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. Okay, so this is the material now. This is going to just get painted on. I'll pull the sleeve down and then paint this on the outside. I feel good about having those reinforcements there. A drill rod, by the way, would be fine. Music wire is about almost as strong as drill rod. It's not coat hanger wire. I don't think coat hanger wire would be a material of choice, but let's see how this plays out. Having those little steel pieces in there is definitely not going to hurt anything. I want to get plenty on there. Make sure there's plenty. This can go right down over the part. We can draw it up. And any overage on it we're going to sand off anyway, so we can just pull that up. Now I don't know if this is going to need 2 or 3 layers of carbon. I don't know yet. It actually won't even be too ugly. Now I didn't want this. I originally thought what I was going to have to do with this is make some kind of big aluminum thing with bolts and nuts and screws, and it would probably be really, really ugly to do that. But I don't think this is going to be too bad. And boy, considering the fact that how much money it would be to replace, I don't think you could buy 1 chair either. I think you got to buy a whole set of 8. I'd rather buy another motorcycle. And boy, that windstorm was so powerful to do this, to throw this around our yard and throw it behind the pond there was just unbelievable. I'm thinking I may not even have to put a second layer on this. See, these jobs kind of evolve the way they evolve. Now, here's the real thing to making this work. Remember, the heat will make it cure a lot faster. Want to get as much physical contact area as possible on this. Now, and fast forward here, I'm just using the hair dryer and spreading the epoxy out. This usually takes about 5 or 10 minutes. It'll harden up to the touch, and you're pretty much done. Just let it sit 24 hours. So this has cured up for a few hours, and I'm just taking some sandpaper, trying to get any sharp edges off. Anytime you have carbon fiber and there's a loose thread that's got epoxy on it, what'll always happen is it becomes a little needle or a little razor blade. So it's a good idea, no matter what you do, to just run some sandpaper over it. Nothing a big deal. Now I'm going to wait 24 hours because I can't do it outside. It's not a good day for painting, but I'll run some barbecue paint on this. And I think this is a pretty good repair. And it's obviously, look, it's as solid as a rock. I've already sat on it just to make sure. It's as solid as a rock. And that's a really good way. That little steel reinforcement in there is the key to it. The key is on a thing like this not to have too little things breaking, but to spread the load out. That's the goal of anything like this, is to just spread the load out. And once this has got a little barbecue paint on, another thing too is we'll always use this one in the back of the table against the pond, since it's the back table. I think this turned out to be a pretty good repair. I think that worked out pretty good. It's a lot more fun than buying another chair for who knows how much money. And you really can't even see that. Even before I put the flat black on, you can't even see it. I'd say that was mission accomplished. So I hope you did enjoy the video. This has been one repair I'm real satisfied with. Minimum amount of work, a couple dollars worth of material, and a lot more fun than buying a new chair. So, for people who don't know, there's probably at least 100 carbon fiber related motorcycle, model airplane, whatever, things to do with carbon fiber. So if that has an interest for you, what you need to do is put my name, which you can see in the title, in quotation marks, and then the word carbon fiber, and up will come all 100 of those videos, maybe more even. Anyway, this was a good repair. I want to thank the healthcare workers, as I do it with every video that I make. It's over a year we've been COVID safe here. I'm always happy when I can pass on some useful information. I think this is useful information you can use even for other things around the house. And if it isn't, it's free. What? I can't beat that at all. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And check out other carbon fiber videos on my channel. Again, thanks for watching. Now, that means we've added to our list of things that we have posted out on YouTube, and there are over 2,000 videos. We've added a way you can repair some of this aluminum lawn furniture, I guess is the right word. We've got a lot of things out on that channel that may be of interest, even if you're not a motorcyclist or you have no interest
If you have an interest in carbon fiber, or if you have an interest in painting, we do all of that stuff on our channel. There should be something of interest for almost every craftsman, including polishing, various things, making carbon fiber parts for motorcycles from scratch. And now we've even added something that I never even knew until today. We were going to add repairing lawn chairs. So even that's out there. We try to do it all with a good sense of humor. And most of all, thank you so much for watching.